Welcome. I'm Dale Weir with Coldwell Banker Gundaker. Thank you for joining me over a cup of tea to talk about some real estate issues and concerns. Please keep in mind that I work in St. Louis, Missouri, in the greater St. Louis area. So while all real estate is local, what I tell you is how we do things here. It is not how things may be done in your part of the country. Please talk to a local realtor to find out how things are done in your part of the country. Today's topic is selling as is. What's the message you're sending when you're selling as is? When should you do it? When should you not do it? When you're selling as is, you're sending a message to the buyer that there might be issues, and that's why you're selling as is, and you don't want to deal with those issues. It may be something that's minor, it may be something that's major. Sometimes it's simply because the house is very dated and you don't want to update it. But that doesn't always need to be the right answer. Both as an as-is sale and a regular sale, you should do a seller's disclosure. Tell them honestly what you know about the house, the good, the bad, the ugly. If the roof leaked 12 years ago, you had it re-roofed, you haven't had a leak since, then you put that down. If the roof is leaking now, they need to know it. If the roof has never leaked, they need to know it. They don't want to buy a pig in a poke, just as you don't want to buy a pig in a poke. When you're selling as is, it says that when the buyer does the buyer's inspections, you're not going to negotiate anything. Do you want to start out front with the negotiating process telling them that? Or is it better to say you'll consider negotiating things and selling it as a regular sale rather than an as-is sale? Now, perhaps it's only minor things. Perhaps it's major things. But if you're selling it as is, and you start out saying, I'm not doing anything. No. Doesn't matter what it is, I'm not doing anything. You're going to lose a lot of buyers. When you're selling as is, you also are stating that you're not going to do any of the building inspections and the required inspections that are normally the seller's responsibility. Now, every area is different with what those are. In our area, the seller is responsible for the gas inspection. The seller is responsible for municipal inspection if an occupancy permit is required, because the buyer cannot get an occupancy permit to move in until that inspection is done and cleared. The seller is also responsible for the fire department inspection if one is required by that area. Not all areas require them. If there are any other inspections that are required, not by the bank who is helping the buyer, but by the municipality in order for the buyer to move in, those are the ones that the seller will be responsible for. So perhaps you think there's a problem with the furnace and you don't want to have to fix it, so you say, I'm not doing any inspections. Well, that's fine, but that's sending a message up front that there's a problem. If you think your furnace is okay, if you think that you can pass the municipal inspection, then why not do them? And I will tell you, all inspectors are going to find something. They have to. How can they justify getting paid otherwise? But sometimes what they find is going to be minor, especially since you can go online to the St. Louis County website and pull down a list of the things that St. Louis County inspects for. And you'll find that that list is pretty standard, and you can use that whether you're talking about a Baldwin inspection, whether you're talking about a St. Louis City inspection, whether you're talking about a St. Louis County inspection. Most of them are going to be pretty close to that. And many of the municipalities, such as Baldwin, will give you a copy of their checklist. They'll even tell you the most common things that are found wrong. Why not get that list? Why not go through it? Fix the items beforehand. Your time, your dime. so that you do them on your schedule. You do them how they can be done less expensively. During the middle of negotiations for a building inspection, you've got a deadline to do everything to get to closing. If you're trying to do all your inspection repairs then, the other agent is going to say, we want a licensed electrician, we want a licensed plumber, we want reputable contractors. They may even specify exactly who they want to do something. And sometimes the things that they're talking about are things that a handyman can do, or the homeowner, and they really don't require someone with a license, as long as you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, hire somebody who does. But when you're looking at it up front, take a look, take a deep breath, and say, okay, we can do these inspections, we can find out what's wrong and move on. The municipal inspection, every municipality has a different time limit on it. Some are good for only 3 months. Majority are good for a year. So you would be able to do your inspection before you put the home on the market, find out what is wrong and take care of it, then put it on the market advertising that you've already met the municipal inspection requirements. Fire department is the same way. Typically they're looking for things like your smoke detectors, your carbon monoxide detectors. Are the numbers on the outside of the house large enough to be read by the fire trucks coming down the street? Do you have any fire hazards in your house that need to be taken care of? Those are things for your safety that you should consider anyway. On the municipal inspection, they're checking zoning requirements. So think twice before you say, I don't want to do any inspections. I don't want to negotiate any inspections. Most of the contracts do require that if something's found with the municipal inspection or the Laclede gas inspection, that it's taken care of prior to closing. So if you want to be able to negotiate those items, make sure it's worded in the contract that you can negotiate anything that's found, and it's not an automatic that you will fix it. Now with the buyer's building inspection, there are some of the inspectors who scare the buyers, quite frankly. They'll come through and they'll nitpick to the point where something that is a very, very minor issue, it's a wrinkle on a face, suddenly is blown out of proportion and the whole entire house is falling down. But a good inspector is not like that. A good inspector puts things in priority and perspective. They talk about, these are the issues that really need to be corrected. Perhaps there is a problem with the furnace or the hot water heater or the air conditioner. Perhaps there is an electrical panel box problem. Those things need to be taken care of. Typically when you're negotiating a building inspection, we don't worry about the minor things though. A broken switch plate cover, now that's 50 cents to $1 at the hardware store. You don't worry about negotiating those. You're worried about negotiating things that are $100 or more, or that require someone that's licensed to do them, or things that stop people from actually being able to move in. Now, if it's just the house is dated but it's perfectly functional, then there's no sense selling it as is. Consider, when you're doing this, the message you send to the other side. If you try and sell to an as-is buyer, the ones who post the signs along the roadway saying, we'll take your house and we'll pay cash, they are typically looking at selling the house, or buying the house, for 60% of the going value for houses in the neighborhood that are equivalent, that are updated and ready to go. Now, sometimes 60% isn't a lot of money, and you can make a lot more money by fixing the house up instead, or just selling it as is to a regular person. When you're looking at it, consider what needs to be fixed up and what doesn't. If it's very, very dated, yeah, you're not going to want to spend a lot of money doing a lot of things. But one of the things to keep in mind is there are some minor things that don't take a lot and can make a tremendous difference. For example, painting your walls, cleaning the house. Those alone can make a major difference. Putting away all of your knickknacks and ticky-tacks and family pictures. Moving a lot of your stuff out so the house shows better and isn't cluttered. You have to move anyway. You're going to have to get rid of the excess anyway. Go on and do it up front. Then, when you get a contract and you've got less than a month to closing, you're not in a mad dash. Again, you've done it on your dime, your time. So you can spend a more reasonable amount of money. You can do it over a longer time period and make sure that it's done quickly and well. And it meets your needs, not just the needs of the buyer. If you have any questions on whether a house should be sold as is or not, talk to a local realtor. Find out what the difference in price is between homes that are being sold as is and homes that are being sold as regular sales. Thank you for joining me over a cup of tea today. If you have any questions, please send me an email.